Welcome, everyone. This is Chris, and welcome back to my little corner of the baseball world. Today, we are going to do a 1960s PSA reveal. So, to join us today, I brought a few of my favorite cards from the early 60s and a couple of friends from the late 60s in Vida Blue and Reggie Jackson. Both of those are representative of the time they spent with the Birmingham A's. Reggie Jackson in 1967 and Vida Blue in 1969. Both of them were stadium giveaways that I helped produce back in my minor league days. And both are signed, so they are kind of keepers for me. I also tossed in a couple of baseballs here of some names that you might know from the 60s that had a great deal of prominence in that time frame. Musial more so early in the decade, and Willie just throughout. But our cards that we brought, and I'm going to see if I can't get zoomed in on these just a little bit here. We got a 1960 Mickey Mantle and a PSA 5. A Hank Aaron 1962 also in a 5. A 1963 Pride of NL has Willie Mays and Stan Musial on it. It's one of my favorite multiplayer cards. That's a 5 as well. Next up is Willie Mays. Here as a 4 in 1964. Same year, 1964, is Ernie Banks. That's also a 4. It's nicely centered, nice looking card. And then a beautiful PSA 5 of Roberto Clemente, or Bob as you have it on the card, but I prefer to call him Roberto. And that one is a PSA 5 as well. It's a really, really nice looking card with really great color. So those are the cards that I chose to kind of be our backdrop today. And we're going to open a lot of cards, or we're going to show a lot of cards. Look, this is not a blind reveal. I've already gone through the cards online. I've seen the grades. I know what they are. So we'll just kind of fly through these as quickly as we can. I will stop and mention a couple of things about maybe some lesser-known players. But this group of cards is a combination of a few, myself and a couple other friends, and mostly for PC. So you're going to see some low-grade stuff. You're going to see some mid, and maybe even a couple a little on the higher side, but nothing overly expensive or overly extravagant here. So I'm going to start. I've got my stacks right over here. So you can see that, see all my junk and cardboard stacks behind there. And let's just get to taking a look at cards. We're going to start off with, there's going to be a lot of Roger Maris in here, by the way. I've got a buddy, James, that collects a lot of Maris, and so he will, you'll see a lot of that from him. This is a 1961 Roger Maris. Nice looking card, except for it's got those print lines or roller marks, whatever you want to call them, on the front. That does take away a little bit. And then, unfortunately, this got a 3MK. We got a little scribble from someone some point in time on the back. So we got a 3MK on that, but we have a Roger Maris preserved for a Roger Maris collector. Next up, 61 Roger Mays All-Star. Got a nice looking card here, a little off center, a little soft on the corners. We got a PSA Fiji 3 here on this one. Roger Maris, 1961 All-Star. I think he had a pretty good year that year in 1961. Let me straighten this out a little bit here, excuse me. All right, next up we've got a post. Mickey Mantle, 1962. I'll hold it this way. For those of you who don't know, there are 3 post Mickey Mantles. The first one is just straight hand cut off the cereal box, has a blank back. Then there are 2 others that were advertisements for post cereal in Life magazine. Some of them were perforated, as is this card. I don't know if you can see or not. You see the perforation lines there on that right side, to where it was an insert. You tore it along the perforated lines and tore it out. And then there was also a hand cut version of the same. Both of those had the same back, but there are, from a grading standpoint, there are 3 different mantles, and the labels reflect so. But this one, Obviously, it's got a missing left corner, so we know that we're not going to do much better than a 1, but in this scenario, got an authentic. Again, was not out of the expectation levels, range of expectations there. So, again, that's the back of the ones, the ad in Life magazine. See if I can get that a little bit clear, get my shadow out of there. But anyway, so we got an authentic for that. Those cards, by the way, are really, really thin. As you might imagine, they were in a magazine. They're paper thin and tough to grade high. Next up, greatest sports hero. Babe Ruth, series from 1962 of Babe Ruth cards. This one gets an EX5. It's a nice looking card. A little off center top to bottom, but otherwise nice looking card, nice corners. Nice, good mid-grade example there. And this particular one has Babe Ruth's pitching records and pitching stats on the back. So that's kind of interesting if you want to just stop and take a look and refresh yourself on how good of a pitcher the Babe was early in his career. Next up, 1962 Tim McCarver. McCarver's probably better known for his announcing prowess as being a longtime broadcaster and main guy for Fox baseball broadcasts. McCarver was a longtime catcher, primary catcher for Steve Carlton in the late 60s and early 70s, but had a nice, good long career, although he was not necessarily a star player. We get a VG3 on this one. Okay, next up. Maris wins it in the 9th. One of the World Series cards from the 1962 set. This one is a 4. And nice looking card here. Got the stats and box score from Game 3 of the 1961 World Series on. All right, next up we got home run leaders from 1962. This is a 63 card. These were the 62 home run leaders. I kind of find it interesting that if there are 6 guys on this card and only one of them is a Hall of Famer, and that's Harmon Killebrew there in the middle. However, Rocky Colavito, Norm Cash, Jim Gentile, Roger Maris, all sluggers in their own rights, and Leon Wagner had 5 or 6 good years with some numbers with some hefty power in there as well. So all good, very good players, but some of them are ones that you don't hear about a whole lot. Cash and Colavito both spent some time in Detroit. Cash most of his career, Colavito I think 4 years in Detroit, and played alongside Al Kaline, making that a pretty dangerous lineup right there. So in this one we got a 2. So card itself you can take a look at here. We just got the rough corners here is what gets us. And again, it's a card that's been handled. It's old. It's been handled, and that's what we see here. This is another of the same exact card. This one's a little bit sharper, a little bit nicer. And what gets us on this one is the cut on the bottom of the back. If you can see that. Unfortunately, that is not cut well, so it lands us a 5 miscut on the grade. Otherwise, it was the front's nicely centered left to right, a little off top to bottom, but with the way the card's framed, doesn't look bad at all. Just couldn't quite make it on the back cut to the minimum standard there. So next we've got 1963 card called Buck Blasters. It's 4 Pittsburgh Pirates players: Smokey Burgess, Dick Stewart, Roberto Clemente, Bob Skinner. All had nice careers. Obviously, Clemente is the one that we know the most. Burgess played for 5 teams over 18 years, mostly a catcher, was a 9-time All-Star. Dick Stewart had 3 years with 30 home runs plus and 119 RBI, including breaking out in 1963 with 42 homers and 118 RBIs. Skinner, 3-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, played in the big leagues for 10, 12 years himself. So some nice players there to complement Roberto Clemente. Oh, and I didn't mention that the grade, if you didn't see it before, was a 4. All right, let's move on. Roger Maris, 1963. More from the Roger Maris collection. And we got a good 2 on this one. Again, I think bottom corners are probably the biggest culprit on this one. Again, these are old cards, been handled, been in collections for a long time. The grades were pretty much as expected. Bombers best, New York Yankees. Best 3 players as tops stated here, with Tommy Tresh, Bobby Richardson, and Mickey Mantle in the middle. In 62 season, Tom Tresh was the shortstop, Bobby Richardson the second baseman. Tresh was the rookie of the year. Both went on to play in multiple All-Star games and be very, very solid players for the Yanks. This one we got a fair 1.5. I don't recall if this had a crease in it or anything specific that got that other than just general wear. There were some surface scratches on this that I don't think that we're going to be able to see here in the slab, but I do remember that when looking at it, there were some surface scratches as well. So, all right. Moving forward here, Roger Maris, 1964, the first of 2. We got a good 2 on this one. The second one is off. The cut is off left to right. Good enough for a VG3 for Roger Maris there. Next, we have 1965 card, the 64 batting leaders. We got a Roberto Clemente, Hank Aaron, and Rico Carty on this card. This one got a fair 1.52. 1.5 as well. Excuse me. Look, we got some staining on the back. We got a pretty tough worn corner there. Definitely worthy or worth the grade and earned the grade of the 1.5 there. Next up, AL home run leaders. We got Harmon Killebrew, Mickey Mantle, and Boog Powell. Decent look on the back. You see Killebrew had 49, Powell 39, and Mantle 35, with Rocky Colavito and Dick Stewart, who we've mentioned on other cards, at 34 and 33. This card got a VGEX 4. So, all right. Next up, another 65 AL RBI leaders. We got Brooks Robinson, Harmon Killebrew, Mantle, and Dick Stewart. Got a 4 on this one as well. Off center, left to right. Otherwise, a decent looking card there. So, all right. Next up, we'll go to our next stack. Excuse me, I just messed that up. So we're just going to do it this way here. Come and get our Roger Maris. We have 3 of these 1965 Roger Maris cards. This one is off center, left to right enough. It got us a 4 on the grade. The next one up here is a 5. Much better center card, but it has that stain up here at the top. I really wasn't sure how that was going to affect the grade. I thought it actually might get a stain qualifier. But the card's sharp enough that they went ahead and gave it a 5 and didn't knock it down any farther. Probably could have been in the 6 or 7 range without that stain. But that's just kind of speculation there. This one here is probably the nicest of the group overall. We got an EX Mint 6 with this 65. I love the 65 set. That pennant flowing with the team name in it. Mickey Mantle was my favorite card, but I love the Willie Mays and several of the other cards. Obviously, Mr. Clemente up there in the top right on the backdrop as well. So now we have a 66 Mantle. This one is in rough shape. You can see the bottom from the beginning. But as Buddy James said, it's a Mantle. Let's get it preserved and just keep it in the collection. So we got a pour 1 on this one. Got some issues on the back too. It definitely has the right grade on that one. I'm going to put that there. So next week, 66 Roger Maris. This one got a 3. Again, we start to see some corner wear, some dings. Got a top right corner there. It's pretty heavily dinged there. So some discoloring on the back brings us down to a 3. Another Roger Maris. This time we're going to 67. We've got 2 of these. And this one is an EX5. Decent looking card there. Got a nice looking surface. A little off center. But we got an EX5 on that one. The other one brings us a better grade with the caveat that, again, somebody has taken pen to card and decided to make a mark on an old Roger Maris card. So this is a very, very nice looking card. On the back, you can see the line right there. Unfortunately, that line right there takes us from being a good, legit 6 to one with a qualifier. But it's, again, especially if you're just looking at the front of the card like this, it's a nice looking card. Next, we stay in 67. We go to Bob Uecker, more famously known as the voice of the Milwaukee Brewers. We got Bob Uecker. We got a 4, longtime catcher, radio, baseball personality in general. Good player. Now, this is a different card here. This is a 1967 Topps Who Am I? I don't know a whole lot about this set. I know it was considered a non-sport set in that they had historical figures and a lot of different people on cards in this set. There were only 4 baseball players. They were Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, and Sandy Koufax. And this particular one got a 3. There is, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but there is a light wrinkle up here near the top. I'm not going to find it. But it's there, I promise. And we just got a little bit of wear and tear on the corners too. But otherwise nice. But they come with these backs. They're quizzing you. My understanding is maybe the cards came with some kind of a scratch-off type thing. I don't know if it was down here, if it was on the front, to have you guessing who it was. But Babe Ruth in a 3, 1967, Who Am I? Just a different card. Next up, 67 RBI leaders, Cepeda, Clemente, and Aaron. It's 3 Hall of Famers, lots of star power on this card. We're off left to right here. Otherwise, a nice looking card, but we get a 2 miscut, unfortunately. And that miscut is more due to the back here and not having any kind of border on the back than it is. It's got a little bit of border there, so that would have been okay. Anyway, that's a miscut, but and a 2, but definitely, again, much star power on it. Next up in 1968, Willie Mays. Nearing the end of his career. Nice looking pose from Willie. Got a VG3 on that one. Again, centering on a lot of these. That was very typical from that time frame, as many of you know. Something that you can buy and learn and learn to love, to deal with. Again, when I was younger, we were more worried about sharp corners and nice looking cards, and centering was not the biggest concern. I think the views have changed on that, but there are an awful lot of not quite so well centered cards. Next up, 1968 Roger Maris. Centering on this one's a little bit better, a little bit off top to bottom. Just general wear on it. I think this right corner, top right corner, I don't know if you can see it with the glare, but definitely is a little bit rougher than the others. We got a 68 Maris in the Cardinals uniform. Right there. Next, we got a 68 Hank Aaron All-Star, Sporting News All-Star selection. This was a nice looking card. Had a nice surface on it, nice corners. And gets a EX Mint 6, which is about the grade that we had hoped to get. I thought it possibly could get a 5. Thought 7 was probably a kind of pie in the sky hope, but 6 seemed to be right on there. And then, of course, the backs on those are part of a bigger puzzle, if you will. So, all right. Next we have 1969 Hank Aaron. This one's got a big old crease down the middle. I don't know. You can see it right by his forearm there, right above the V. And it's a light. It goes actually all the way up. And you can see it right there just to the right of the mouth. Big crease. Got a 1.5. Again, to be expected. One of the game's all-time greats. Let's throw it in a slab. It's for a PC. Keep it forever. Next up, 1969. Catfish Hunter. This one had really nice color. Nice look to it. Had some wear. We got an EX5. Had some corner touches and things. So, again, that's about the right grade. But really very nice looking for the grade. Nice, good, clean, colorful back. James was happy with that. I believe this is the last of James cards that we have here today, and that is a 69 checklist with Mickey Mantle on it. That one got a good 2. Again, really soft corners there, especially at the top, bottom left. Definitely earned its 2. Another Mickey Mantle in a slab and preserved for the long run. All right, next, we've got one more stack to show you. These next 7 cards, I believe, are my buddy Dave's. This one I know he picked up at a local card shop in Tennessee somewhere. Nice looking 1960 Sandy Koufax. Little off left to right on the centering part. I think that's part of what hurt it, but the corners were kind of 5-6-ish as it was. And let me see, there's that. So we got a 5 on the 1960 Sandy Koufax. The color and the surface and the colors were really, really nice on this. So that just really jumped out at you. We got a nice 60 Sandy Koufax there. Now I'm covering up Willie. Move these to the side a little bit. All right, next up we got a 61 Frank Robinson. Again, really nice colors, nice pop. The blue in the background looks sharp. Just got some corner wear and some general age for that type of a card. You know, we're looking at, cards that are 60 plus years old. I think that we're talking 63 years old here. So, nice looking card, especially on first glance. Nice 3.5 for Frank Robinson here at that time of the Reds before he was traded to the Orioles. All right, continuing to move on. We got a Manager's Dream. This one is one Dave's had for a long time. Just corners are, as you might imagine, showing the love and wear this card has received over the years. It got a poor 1, which is exactly where we expected it to go on that. Still, at that point, Mantle and Mays on the same card, that's a lot of fun. Again, probably one of my other great dual player cards, especially from that era. Got a 69. He was a big He was a big Rod Carew fan as a kid. This one had a crease. I don't remember exactly where off the top of my head. It's been a while since I looked at these. But 2 was the grade, and 2 was pretty much where we expected it. No big surprise on that. Again, I don't know if I can show you where that is, what the issue is, but we're not going to search forever on it. Trust me, it's there. The 2 was a fair grade for a reason. Same thing with this Harmon Killebrew. Off center, some beat up corners. Got a 3. Didn't have the big crease, therefore got a little bit better grade, even though the corners weren't quite as sharp. And again, that's just where you go. Sometimes grades are technically different on 2 different cards, even though IPL may be a little bit better on one than the other, but the grade is still not the same. All right, next. We got a Game 1968 Topps Game card of Mickey Mantle. This is a nice looking card, a little bit off center top to bottom. In general, nice looking card, and we got an EX Mint 6 on that. So, coloring off a little bit like you see most of the time on these, not bright white, but at the same time, not completely yellowed and totally stained. So I think 6 is a good deserving grade on that one. All right, next. Let's go to Rod Carew again. Again, this one, we got a VGEX4 on this one. I think the culprit down here on this one is this bottom left corner. Just got more of a ding than you can justify to go higher. Even though in general the card looks pretty nice. The color on it is pretty good. The surface is good. It's not the brightest color in the world, but then again, 69 wasn't necessarily known for having really, really bright, sharp card fronts. Okay, next up. And this was the first of my cards. So these are the last few here are my cards. We'll go through these. 1960 Willie Mays. Picked this up at a local card show about a year and a half ago. Very nicely centered. Kind of just like we talked about on the Carew. That bottom left corner is a little more worn and dinged than the others. And so despite having some pretty nice centering on this card and a nice looking card, we got a 3. So, again, no surprises there. I would have loved to have seen a 4, but, you know, sometimes you can kind of hope and know it's not going to happen. Next up, got a Stan Musial, 1960. This one centering top to bottom is off, but again, on these horizontal cards, I don't mind that so much. Aside from that, it's a good-looking card. This one I picked up at one of the... I'm going to call it a minor auction house. I don't necessarily mean that. I don't remember which one. I don't mean that as a slight. Just not one of the big names with, you know, Heritage and Golden and so on, Memory Lane and so on. But this one had a Beckett preview grade of a 5.5 on it. It was in a sealed bag with that sticker on it. So it looked like somebody had maybe submitted at a show that they were at and they gave it a first look of a 5.5. It was never graded, obviously, in a Beckett slab. So we went ahead and sent it to PSA, and we got a 5 on this one. So, again, nice looking card. Grade's about where it should be. No complaints here at all. So let's move on. We're going to dig into 1962. This is a Frank Robinson All-Star. I thought this one was a little nicer. This one we ended up getting a 4 on it. I really thought a 5 or even a 6 was possible. I know there will be a crowd out there telling me I'm nuts, but generally not too far off on these things. And I really thought a 5 was going to be there with even a possibility of a 6. So a 4 kind of surprised me. But, you know, again, I can't complain. The grades by and large have been what I expected for the most part, and there were no major disappointments. I would consider this maybe a minor disappointment, but you know, hey, that's not anything to lose any sleep over anyway. Still, nice looking card. I don't collect 61s per se, but I do have a lot of the Hall of Famers in that year. Probably a dozen of them, and you know, I add one here and there, one there, and most of them are in 5s. I do have a couple of 4s. Couple of 6s. I think I have one of the All-Stars at the 7 Drysdale, I believe. But generally, 5 is kind of the range I shoot for in those and go from there. Now, this was one of my favorite cards as a kid growing up, outside of the cards and packs that I you know, pulled. You know, I wasn't around in 1965 to see the Mick, but I enjoyed reading about older players and have read all of his books and his autobiographies and biographies and know Mickey Mantle's story very, very well. One thing that some of you may not know about Mickey Mantle is when he first got called up to the major leagues, he really struggled and he was sent down to AAA and went there and basically sulked and moped, called his dad and said, "I want to go home, I want to quit." And Mickey did not want to continue playing baseball. He could not handle it. This, as the story goes, his dad, who went by the name of Mutt, drove all the way to, I don't remember if it was Kansas City or where the minor league team was at the time, and basically told him to pack his suitcase if he's going to be a big baby, a big crybaby, that he was taking him home and he can work in the mines the rest of his life. And within that short conversation, Mickey changed his mind and Mutt got him back on the right track, and the rest is history. But being from Oklahoma, again, some may or may not know, this one got a 3. Mickey is named after former Major League catcher Mickey Cochran, who his father was a big fan of. So we got a 3 on this one. Again, deserved grade. The bottom left corner is a little soft. It looked like it took a ding at some point, but still overall nice card. I love the 65. This is probably my favorite Mantle outside of the early ones that I can't afford. But it was just one of my favorite cards. I did have that when I was a kid. before I was stupid and sold all my cards for, well, anyway, that's another story. All right, next in RBI leaders. Cepeda, Clemente, Aaron again. This one was mine. Little thin on the cut, but we got a 6. So centering wasn't perfect on it, but still nice looking card. Nice surface, nice coloring. We got a 6 on it. So we'll take that and be happy. Next up, Willie Mays, 1968. We got a 2. This one's got a crease in it. I think it's down towards the bottom here. Just this one, again, I got it at a trade show. It's definitely been handled and seen its days. A 2 is a fair grade on that. I knew a best case scenario would be a 3. Now, this one I picked up at a different card show. I really liked the look of it. It was sharp. The colors were really, really good. Edges, corners, everything looked really, really good on this. I thought it had a legit shot at a 9. We'll end up settling for an 8. But an 8 from 1968 is nothing to laugh about. It's a very, very nice looking card of Juan Marichal, a Hall of Famer. And as many will tell you, probably a vastly underrated pitcher from the 60s as a even though he's a Hall of Famer. All right. Willie Mays. It's 1969. I don't remember exactly where I picked this one up. This one got a 3.5. And I believe right down here, bottom left corner, had we'll call it a light crease right above the corner. It's not real heavy. It doesn't look really terrible on the back, but you can see the outline of it. So 3.5 is a reasonable grade on that part. The rest of the card looks pretty decent. Last few cards here. Now, here's a couple 69s I threw at it just to see what I could get because they looked pretty darn sharp to me. And I wanted to see where I could get. I grade a lot of 1975s for my high-end set. So this was kind of a test to see, okay, how are they going to grade certain aspects of cards? This one centering is not exactly perfect. Still, nice looking card. Surface, no issues with the surface. Colors were good. We got a near mint 8 on it. So, nice looking back, bright color. Just sharp. All right, last couple cards here. Tom Seaver, 1969. Again, another card show purchase. Really, really nice initial eye appeal. As you look a little closer, you start to see some, we'll call them warts, but some wear, some soft corners for sure. Little edge wear. So while the initial eye appeal is really, really nice, the grade of 3 was deserved. I have no qualms with that whatsoever. Would have loved to have seen a 4, but there was no way, just no way that it was going to be higher than a 4, even if it got to a 4. So, Matty Alou, same thing here. Another high-end, nice looking 69. Sharp corners, nice looking card. Figured I'd take a shot at it, see what we could get on it. We got another near mint 8. So those were less about my collection and more about my education and trying to reacquaint myself with how PSA looks at certain grades and certain functions and actions. Last one is a Rod Carew. I don't remember exactly where I picked this one up. Last card up for the group is a 1969. It's a nice looking card. We got a near mint 7 on it. I've had this one for a little while, but happy to have it. And while I didn't see Carew, I don't think I ever saw Carew play live. Was a heck of a hitter. Some of you may know that during the late 80s, as he was coming through, he was far and away, may not be exactly accurate, but he was the leading vote getter for the All-Star games from the fans multiple years in a row. And so Carew was always at the top of the fans list for All-Star teams. So we got a 7 on that. The last card of this group that didn't make it here today, I had a Jim Palmer rookie from 1966. It was a very nice looking copy. I was kind of looking in the 7 range, thinking could be a 6. Outside chance it could be an 8. And sometimes I'm a little harsh on cards. It graded an 8, and I had a buyer that was interested in it right away. So I went ahead and moved that because an 8 is a fairly pricey card. And as you can see, a lot of my cards from the 60s in that era are in that 5, 6 range, 4, 5, 6 range. So I felt like I was better off using that money for something else, other cards, than keeping one card that was a higher end card and had a fairly high price tag. So that one immediately from the time that we opened the box was pulled and sold right away. And of course I didn't think about shooting the video before I actually stuck it in the mail. So anyway, it's got a new home. It will be enjoyed. I'm happy that it was a very, very nice looking card, very perfectly centered. Jim Palmer rookie. And again, has a new home. All right, we're going to wrap this up here. I again thank you for sticking with me, and I hope you enjoy taking a look at these old cards and walking back in time with me a little bit. If you do, please come back and see me again. Subscribe to my channel. You'll see future videos as they are posted and made public. Like the video if you like it. Throw some comments below. Tell me you love it. Tell me you hate it. Tell me what I can do better. Still learning a little bit about the production here and how to make it better, but at the same time wanted to share our findings with you in terms of the grades on this sub and some of the collection that I have. Again, I will sign out now. Thank you once again and hope to see you again soon.